Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 161. This week, how to create an information memorandum. And you might be thinking, what is an information memorandum? Well, it is what you have, what you produce to perhaps show an investor or even to have like a lookbook for your property. There are other reasons you might create one, and we're going to unpack this week inside this episode. So jump on into episode 161. Welcome to 161 episodes in, if that makes sense. Today, we are talking all things information memorandum and the things that you need to put in there and why you need to put them in. But before we do that, Bob, what's your tip for the week?
I'm not getting caught short anymore because I have my little magic daily mantras book now.
Your magic.
Oh, yours.
Yeah, what have you got for us today?
Here's one.
I did see him looking through before the podcast.
Oh, yeah, I read about 2 or 3 to choose one. Here's this. Listen to this.
Yes.
Because you'd appreciate this because you talk about people stepping outside of their comfort zone.
I do.
Here we go. If it scares you, it might be a good thing to try. Push yourself beyond your comfort zone. From great risk comes great reward, or at the very least, great learnings.
Oh.
Comfort zones, moving outside, stepping out, stepping up.
Well, I love that because that's life. And I was listening to something this morning when I went to the gym along the same lines. I always put stuff like that in my own head because it gets me fired up. But if you listen to my podcast, which we will put a link below for this one, but it's called Bounce Back Better anyway, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. It's not on YouTube yet. But I this week spoke about creativity, but that along those lines, Bob, creativity meaning how to think your way forward or think yourself out of a situation you feel stuck in. And that came from last week at our workshop because my podcasts are all about moving forward and progress and comfort zones and all things.
Overcoming blockages.
Self-improvement. And I was talking to a young guy. Well, everyone's young to me. But anyway, I was talking to a guy and he's been really successful in property. And he said to me, Hilary, I'm just stuck and I don't know what to do. And he was really at a block place. Anyway, he had a beer in his hand and I had a wine in my hand, but I sort of coached him a little bit through it. We got to the end and I did help him move forward and he pretty much made a decision then and there on the spot. So if you're somebody who is stuck somewhere, and that's something that I've done a lot of, help people move forward, just check out Bounce Back Better. And it's just life strategies, tips. It's sort of 30 minutes long and it will help you. It's that daily dose of enthusiasm, really. Yeah. So check it out. Anyway, less about me.
Better.
Yes. Well, it fitted with your mantra.
Yes.
Now, you'll have to watch your microphone, Bob.
I will.
You're doing it again.
I'm looking at it.
It's a constant juggle, this. I actually have to manage Bob talking into the mic while we do it because he goes, yes.
Come on, that's exaggerating.
Okay, well, we're giving away the book, and this week it goes to...
Da-da-da-da.
Oh, now I'm going to have to check out. It's written on a piece of paper down here.
Have a quick look.
Hold the book. You talk about the book, Bob.
Well, the book, it's been around for just a couple of years now. Secrets of Property Millionaires. Some of my good friends are in there as well. And it's just different strategies that we've used, property strategies to build wealth.
And even it's quite sought after, isn't it? There are people that want it.
I think it's hard to get hold of now. Someone was telling me.
Yeah. There you go. Jacob Bow, this is going to be in the post to you. One of the girls will reach out to you and you will get your own copy. Remember page 120. We always say 121 and then we looked at it the other day and it's 120.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's where it talks about property
development. That's my chapter, in
case
you don't know.
Yeah. So, okay, that's the tip. That's the book.
Yep.
We're into the podcast.
Do it.
Let's do it. Bob, why do we need information memorandums? What's the reason we have them?
Well, what is an information memorandum?
Oh, there we go. What's otherwise known as an IM? And some of you will know what it is and why, but you'll probably have a few little BFOs today.
I think the name information gives it away. So in our world of property development, it's information about your project, your property development. And they can be, small, quick little IMs. They can be quite detailed. We can talk about those. But who's it? Well, you sort of alluded to it in the intro, didn't you? Who would it be targeted at? We often use them, don't we, when we're raising funds or looking for investors in projects, and that's where a lot of our community use an information memorandum. But it could be also if you're talking to perhaps a valuer or a financier or anybody like that, it's quite a handy document to have because it talks, well, we'll find out what it talks about.
Yes, but alluding to the fact that it's great for your financier or your valuer, it gives them a lot of information that they might otherwise need to look up or confirms what they know, etc.
Yeah. And like I said, it can be anything from typically small one would be maybe 5 pages. Average one, what would be the average one that we punch out just for
Us or
information?
mentoring
10,
students?
12.
Yeah,
mentoring
10 or,
students,
yeah,
10,
about
12 pages.
10 to 12 pages, and we're going to go through what are in those pages. But I'm currently sending out some pretty big ones right now, and it depends on the type of project. So I've got 3 investment opportunities that I'm raising monies for right now, different amounts, and depending on what needs to go into those documents, because there's a lot of legal jargon. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into our ones anyway.
In the 3 that you're raising capital on at the moment, or raising funds, because they're large, there's multiple investors involved usually. It needs to comply with Corporations Act regulations, asset regulations, and so they can be a bit more weighty. But we often start off with one of the smaller basic IMs just to give people an idea what the project is, and
Like a
if they
heads up IM.
heads up IM,
A heads up IM.
that's it. And then if they say, "Oh, look, I could be interested in that," then we can, in our case, we do a full blown one. Our full blown one with full asset compliance is, in the range of, well, it could be 20 to 26 pages with photos and different things in it. Not all text, but quite a bit of text. But the typical ones that, our community would push out there would be, that sort of 10, 12 pages, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I think I liked what you said then, Bob. It's almost the heads up memorandum, almost the taster of what's coming. Because talking to investors, if you're looking for investors, or even just, showing mum and dad or showing friends and family, it can be
showing off.
Yeah, showing off. Well, really just getting excited about what you've done or what you're doing. Even creating one will create excitement, but you can show other people, which is cool because people don't often get what we do.
No, and quite often people are just looking for a single investor as well.
Yes.
So you don't need the full blown one like we do with, when we're raising large amounts of money from multiple people.
Yeah.
It could be just that simple one we talked about, that 10-pager, 12-pager.
So let's tell them.
Okay.
Let's go through what's in a 10-pager, 12-pager. So we have, to start with, I've actually got one in front of me. I'm looking at my iPad so I can get it in the right order. We start off with your front page, really.
Yeah, your identity, who you are. Do you have a name?
Yeah, and for us, we use our own logo, but you could just create a simple logo for the particular project. Maybe you're doing a project called, I don't know, Smith Street South or something, whatever it is.
So
you could do that, or you could do your own branding if you've got branding.
If you have your own branding, Bob's Property Development Company sort of thing, and that's your branding, that's what your name, that's what you're out in the market and known as.
Yeah.
But then every project you would have its own structure.
Yeah.
And that structure would change with every project, but you'd still be known as Bob's Property Development Company.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, put that on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could just be the project itself. And it would look even better, particularly on that cover page. If you had a photograph. It's not going to have a photograph of your project yet, but it might if you're already into your project when you're raising funds. You might have a good artist's impression, but otherwise, just choose something that's similar to yours, a nice photo, and just say, for illustration purposes.
Yeah, or you could just go with your branding. So either of those two are fine. Yeah. And then you would have on the front as well, you would put information memorandum because people would be like, what's this?
What is this document?
What are you doing? Okay, so we have that. Then we have a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Because it says it's general advice because we can't know the outcome. Here's a great story. So we put out an information memorandum recently and had a few investors come together to build one of the industrial projects that we've got coming on, and it's closed off, but I do have another wee plug for myself there. But we said in that the return on capital would be 20. What was the first one before it went
Well, it
up?
depends whether it's annualised or not. Oh, the return on cost.
Yeah, return on
The
cost.
return on cost was a very healthy 25%.
Yeah, but we've got the disclaimer in there because it's now over 30% because the
Yeah.
council has let us put more on. But that could potentially, sometimes developments make a little bit less than you think and sometimes they make
Yeah.
more. So that's a great story.
Yeah.
But that's the disclaimer there. Sorry about that. We got it wrong. You're going to make more money than you thought.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So that 25% return on cost is the actual project.
Yes.
Investors are probably, I'd say, to your project, probably around close to 60% originally, and will go higher again.
On the money's put in.
Yeah.
So they'll make a 60%
on capital invested over 2 years.
Anyway, so that's the disclaimer. So that was an example.
You can borrow disclaimers. People say, "Oh, do I have to get a lawyer to draw one up?" Well, no, there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could borrow one.
Yes, you could just borrow somebody else's. And again, it wouldn't hurt to put your logo, a little bit of branding on every page. It wouldn't hurt. And then we go table of contents. So that's everything that's going to go in there. And remember,
the different headings, like page headings, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like chapters of your book, which is kind of what you're making. It says me, the author. Oh, and you, the author.
Well, it's good. I mean, the use or the purpose of it is quick reference.
Yeah.
People can say, "Oh,
where do I go?
Where do I go for this?" Yeah. Okay, page such and such.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You can also put your branding, and there's usually a bit of. You've got to decide whether you are going to go with full on a lot of images in there or leave it quite crisp and clean. And yeah, I think it's something that people need to play with. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a bit of a balance as to whether not saying enough or saying too much.
But I'm also thinking visually.
Yeah. I think it's good to break it up occasionally with some graphics. It could be a floor plan, could be a photo of something similar or whatever it is. But it's good to break it up a bit, but not make the text too small and too tight. Spread it out a bit, space between paragraphs or bullet points or whatever. Like visually, just personally, if I see a page of really tight text, I just don't want to read it.
Oh my gosh, I can't even cook off a Jamie Oliver recipe. It's just there's just too much in there for me, and my brain can't even comprehend it. That's not even a joke. That's true, isn't it? It's like, so too much sometimes will be too much. The next page will be about talk about your company or your business. So who is the business? Not about you yet, but you can put. Remember, this is just a guideline. You can change this, but a bit about your company. So Bob's. What were you called? Bob's
Property development company.
Bob's property development, and then Bob's property development is based in wherever and does this, that, and the other. Again, you could put the branding there as well. It doesn't have to be a huge amount, but just a few details. And if you've done projects before, you can put that in there. You could put all, if you haven't, well, then you can just put more about the company itself and what you intend to do, and maybe a little bit about your, your, what do you call that? Mission statement, that sort of thing, and the vision for the future and what your beliefs are. You could put that sort of thing in there. The next thing that goes in there is the about us, about you. Add the details about you.
Yeah.
And what's my number one tip on that, Bob?
Photo.
Yeah. People do business with people. Did you know that on a website, the number one page that gets looked at the most is the About Us page? You would be surprised how many people pitch to us on a regular basis about selling my wares and promoting my hoodaki, or can I be your buyer's agent, or blah, blah. And they send us a link to their website and there is I don't even know what they look like. I can't even deal.
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you said it all. People do business with people. And particularly if this information memorandum is directed to investors, potential investors.
They want to see you.
Yeah, of course they do. In all your finery. Not with the fake Rolex. Just a nice, good casual. Well, when I say casual, not suit and tie if you're a male, but just a good working dress.
Yeah. Do you know, I worked with somebody, one of our mentoring students a few years back, and he was putting together an information memorandum, and I tell you what, he did a blimmin' good job. Blimmin' good.
I've seen some really crackers come through from some
recently.
of our mentoring students. Yeah.
Oh, can we say his name? Mr. Colosimo. Oh, that's a cracker. Love yours. But anyway, the other person I was helping a while back, he actually didn't really have the attire. He needed a photo taken and he didn't really have the clothing to pull that off. And it wasn't something he was ever going to wear.
No, because he didn't wear those sorts of clothes normally.
No, not at all. And so I just said to him, go to the op shop and get yourself a man's suit jacket and even put a nice casual singlet under it. T-shirt under it can look nice. That's a nice look with a pair of jeans. Even a linen shirt. Bob, you're a big wearer of the linen shirts.
Love the linen.
Yeah, so just casual but like nice.
Yeah, you probably get one for $10 or $15. Do you know what he paid?
Yeah, like $10.
$10.
Yeah. He was stoked. He goes, "What a great idea!" But that's one option.
He looked great on it.
He actually looked fabulous. So that's one option. Or you could go all out and wear the suit, and that's okay too. But I wouldn't be going in the,
If you do, I'd skip the tie. You won't see me with a tie too often.
Yeah, that's just a you thing. Listen to us too.
But I still remember how to tie. I still remember how to tie.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, no.
I remember helping your brother not long ago. It was terrible trying to do his tie. He gave up, and I was able to save the day.
You were. You've brought that up so many times too. Like you must have a good memory.
I used to have jobs where I had to wear ties many years ago, so I never forgot how to do it. It's a bit like riding a bicycle.
Okay, so Bob and I are on the fence about the tie. I'm okay with it. He's a no-go.
Yeah, whatever.
But what we're saying is you're lifting your standard of dress and you're not wearing a T-shirt and shorts. And that goes
look
without
professional.
saying.
Whatever it is.
Then you're going to have your project team. So that's like the lead person on the project, maybe your town planner, maybe your building designer, and maybe your project advisor. So our mentoring students get to put Bob and myself on there as project advisors. They can, and that sort of helps when they're showing people to say, hey, we've got these guys that are advising us if they want. And then they put themselves as the project lead. You could put your town planner and your building designer on there if you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't put a team in, some do. Some may not even have a team organised at the time. But I think it helps, particularly if you're starting out in property development. You haven't got a big CV. You can't say, well, I've done 6 projects.
Yeah.
If you haven't, particularly if it could be the first one. But to have that team of professionals around you, I think adds to it.
And you would have great photos of people there. And just a wee tip on that one, you don't have a photo of Bob with no background and then the photo of yourself. How many? Say there's 4 photos going on that page. Make them similar. Just make them.
Not a full body shot of someone, shoulders of another one.
Head of another one. Background of another one, no background in another. They need to be similar. If one's in a box with nothing around it, they all are. If one's in a circle, they all are. It needs to be to look similar, and it's not difficult.
No, phones these days are pretty high quality cameras for doing. You don't have to go and spend $500 and getting professional shots done.
Oh no, not at all, and it's not $500 anyway.
No, what is it?
Oh no, my guy's
no,
God,
your guy.
Our guy here, he's
yeah, but he loves it. He loves you. He just loves shooting you.
Oh, stop it! He doesn't. Look at you.
He used to shoot a lot of models. He likes shooting.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, time to move on. Oh my goodness, Bob! It's Saturday morning, and Bob and I are off to Vietnam this afternoon. So we're kind of. We thought, shivers, we're a podcast behind. We need to rip in and do one. The content was planned. We knew we were doing this, but so we're kind of a bit excited, aren't we?
Yeah, we are a little bit bouncy.
Yes, definitely. A little bit bouncy. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to have is the opportunity executive summary. Now that is a great word, opportunity executive summary, because you're offering somebody opportunity. I talk about this all the time. The executive summary is going to have things like key details about the development, the address, the price estimate on completion, the gross realisation, the project net project on cost, the investor loan opportunity and the investor return. And you'll definitely have a picture of the idea or the concept of the development there.
Yeah, so that's the summary. And look, these headings you're talking about, they could mostly be just a single page.
Oh, for sure.
No, nothing longer than that.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting here is people get caught on that whole, if I send out an information memorandum, will other people go and steal my deal? And that does happen.
Well, if you don't have it locked up, that's what you've got to watch. I mean, you might have it under option, under contract. You might be producing this after you've settled on it and maybe got your approvals. I mean, it depends when and I'm making the assumption that it's to get an investor.
Yeah,
or to show an investor, because that's mostly why you do them. So it depends at what stage you are. But if there's a property that you're looking at, might be off market. Hopefully it is. If it's on market, it could disappear while you're making your IM. But if you don't have your foot on it in any way, then you can. But I mean, you can do a non. Look. Generally, you wouldn't be throwing IMs out there if you had no control over a property at all.
Be very careful.
That really,
because it's unfortunate, but people can be dishonest.
I mean, you can get a non-disclosure agreement.
Yes.
If you really think you need it, but that means you haven't got your foot on it.
It's not hard to get your foot on it. Just put your foot on it.
Put your foot on it.
Alrighty, next, the timeline overview. So you're going to give details about the important dates, the construction estimation time, and the planned project completion date.
Yeah, so if you, let's just say you just put it under contract,
Yeah.
60, 90 days settlement, pulling this together pretty quickly. And you may have already spoken to a few people, potential investors, so you're just pulling this information memorandum. So timeline, well, it might be settlement, on such and such a date, because you probably know what the date is. But then you're estimating, things like development approval, when your approvals are going to come through, when your construction's going to start, and ultimately when it finishes, because the length of your project is pretty important to an investor, as you know.
It's the amount of time that their money's out.
Yeah, and look, you deal with investors who don't want their money out for any more than a year.
Yeah, and
or even less sometimes.
I always wondered what that was. Why? And I had somebody said to me the other day, "Oh no, I need it back by X," and I thought, why? I didn't understand. She goes, "Oh, because it's put aside for tax." And I thought, what a smart move, using that money that's set aside for tax.
Must be paying a lot of tax.
Yeah,
got a couple of $100,000 set aside.
How good's that? But that was the reason for it. So I understand now, because before that I never put those two together. It's kind of the same reason I didn't understand why people wouldn't put their house on the market and just give it to a buyer's agent, and then I know all those reasons now. That's the whole, I went down that road, because until somebody tells you, I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah. So, depending on the size of your project, let's say it's a 2-year project. Well, you need to be confident that's a 2-year project. So people can say, okay, I'm coming into this deal right at the beginning. I've got to put up, $500,000. I'm going to get it back in 2 years' time. I'll get the 500 back, plus, a chunk of profit, or could be interest, depending on how you structure the deal. But timelines are pretty important. And so you can run through those. You probably come up with, 6 or 7 headings on your timeframes. Just pick different milestones along the way. Put dates on them, realistic ones.
Because all of the questions that you can answer for an investor, remember, they're generally not developers, so they don't know what they don't know. And when you give them this information, they'll be like, oh, okay, like it ticks off a few things. And it's nice to know that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Well, investors need to know it when they expect to get their money back.
The next one, you could do investor information, which is pretty much a simple FISO. You're not going to give them the whole full-blown FISO.
No. I often say 6 or 8 lines.
Yeah.
Feasibility, just the main headings, not down to, minute detail of, what the surveyor's charging or anything like that. Just the headings. Main cost, you could break the cost down into probably 6 headings,
Yep.
Just keep it simple. Don't have to give away the sink. It could be that if negotiations proceed with a potential investor, they're sounding like they're in there, they got the money, they're pretty keen, and that they might like to see a bit more detail in the feasibility. Well, that's okay at that point. It's not something you don't put the full.
No.
Like
most people wouldn't even understand it.
No.
But you just need to keep it simple enough to give them enough information to feel comfortable with what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it would be another developer type or somebody in our community that would want to ultimately see the whole FISO.
Then you're going to put a bit of information on the next page about the property, meaning talking about the address and key points, how far from schools and shops and bus stations, just information that people like to know. Yeah. Because remember, you're ultimately selling something, and as in after it's completed. So you'll be able to tell that your investor or the people this development is, being aimed at small families, and it's 350 metres from this particular school, which is this zone, and all that stuff that people like to know.
Yeah, those suburb profiles, you can get those for free usually.
Yeah.
Just by Online you can.
Then about the area, so we'd sort of come back a bit.
Location,
So talk about, say, just maybe the suburb, more about a bigger detail, not the smaller, what's happening in there, and maybe do some landmarks. You could do a picture with, over here is this, and there's a stadium, and there's the this, and there's the that.
Yeah,
so
near
sort
the
of
water or whatever the features are.
Yeah. You could also do a page on council growth plans if there are, like what's happening council wise. That's on the next page.
Yeah.
They might be
Yes or
building
no.
on. Yeah, but it's just an option if you wanted to add that information in.
Yeah, like if it was like some large infrastructure situation, like a second airport, that sort of thing, or an extension rollout, or maybe a new hospital or university going in. Those larger sorts of things that create increase in population and all that sort of
and
thing.
desires to live around that, and especially like imagine a hospital being extended, and then how many more staff will be there and what that means. People looking, if you're building a property that's going to be for the rental market,
or even short-term accommodation when you're near a hospital.
Yeah.
Relatives staying over while people in hospital. There's all sorts of angles.
Yeah. And then we've got market information. So who's likely to live? That's the next one. Who's likely to want to purchase the property? Who is the target market?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to put like a 2-bedroom place in for families near a school. That would just be ludicrous.
No. Yeah. So you buy a profile. So that's what you're targeting. Market information to suit that buyer profile. If they're downsizers, for instance, then that's your target market. That'll come down to the design and finish of your stuff as well, but that wouldn't be in the information memorandum.
We downsized last year, the year before, whenever it was. Didn't
we did downsize.
Went from a bigger house to a smaller house.
2 bigger house.
Yeah, the house was huge, ridiculous. Didn't use it.
6 families in there,
and then we just went to a smaller place. Yeah,
which is nice.
Official downsizes.
Easier to clean.
Yeah, I haven't seen you doing much cleaning though, Bob.
But it's easier for the cleanup.
Yes,
I've got to think of other people. Yeah, don't just think about yourself all the time.
No, don't think about yourself. No. The next one is comparable sales. So what have been sales in the area? So it's sort of confirming what you have said earlier that they're going to sell for X, and then say this is sold for that and this is sold for that, and 2 streets over and right next door, and just show examples of the comparable sales.
Because you would have already done that work when you did your feasibility. You wouldn't just pluck the sale prices out of the sky. You would have done some research, and so all you're doing is, work you've already done, just putting it down. You only need maybe 3 or 4 comparables would be good.
Yep.
Something similar.
Yep. Okay. And then lastly, we're on the last page. It was pretty quick, Bob.
Yeah, it was quick.
It was. We're going to put about the contact details. So, and I saw one the other day where somebody hadn't done that. You need to put your email, you need to put your phone number, and you need to, if you have a website, put your website there.
Yep.
So it's another way. Well, people need to know how to reach out to you, and it's a great way for. Well, I'm just looking at website. I talked to a young guy yesterday who didn't have one. A plumber, I know, an electrician who came to my house, actually a washing machine repair guy. He was a young guy, and I said, "It's your shop front. You have to see websites as a shop front and just move forward." And we could talk about them another day. But anyway, you do need to have that important contact information for people to be able to reach out for you. How many information memorandums have you created in your life, Bob?
Probably about as many as I've had hot meals.
Really?
Yeah. Well, even the big ones, how I punch them out. But the thing is, once you've built one properly, that becomes a template. So it's not like, so there's a bit of work in your first one.
Yeah.
But it gets a lot easier. Some people build them on like a PowerPoint slide sort of setup. Others could, they might use Publisher if they know how to use that. It could be Word. I suppose built off.
I haven't seen Publisher for years.
I know.
I used to love that program.
Yeah, I know.
I think I've even got it.
I plucked that one out of the archives.
Oh my gosh!
Do they still do?
I don't know.
Microsoft still got Publisher? I don't know.
It was so good. I can't even. Oh my gosh, Bob, that's amazing.
A blast from the past.
It is. There's a lot of young people thinking, "What's Publisher?"
What is
That's
that?
been superseded by something, probably Canva these days. But it's really not that difficult to put one together. And if you are looking for investors, there's 2 things it's going to do. It's great for you to show people, but the other good thing, Bob, is it helps cement the information in your mind about the deal.
Yeah. When you're building it.
Yes, when you're building it, because then you become more confident in speaking about it. And you can say, oh, well, it's this. It all rolls off your tongue. Somebody doesn't ask you a question. You're like, oh, gosh, I'm not actually sure. They'll ask you a question and you'll know absolutely what what the answer is because you would have done the work. So that's the
Yeah.
vital part, I think.
Yeah. So we're talking about a digital information memorandum. We're talking about should we get any copied? Well, I suppose we could. If we've got a decent colour copy or go to Officeworks, we can run copies if we need them. We can bind them if we need. If we need a
Generally,
hard copy for
yeah.
some reason,
Okay.
you might be talking to an old investor who wants to see a hard copy and touch it and
Yep.
read it.
Yeah, you might, but yeah, you just that would just be printed off. You just make it. However, generally they're going to be digital, and obviously you don't ever send a Word document. It's going to be locked and loaded. So send it as a solid document. As you said that, Bob, I thought of something. Oh, would you create it as a book? When you first started with the retirement village, which is so many stages long, there is a book that goes with that because.
Oh yeah.
You,
That was a marketing book, that first one.
yeah, so there was because the marketers wanted it. So a big project that's staged over a number of years.
Also,
that was a book.
your target market, like being a retirement village, it's targeted to older people, and so some of them, like they might not even. It sounds weird, I know, but I mean they might not understand. They mightn't have an email, weird as it might sound, and so people do need hard books, and some of them like the touch and feel of a nice glossy, high quality book, the one you're talking about, that they can show friends or whatever, show their kids. This is what we're looking at moving into. I think that's why that was done originally. The marketers suggest that because of the age of the people going in there.
But they weren't necessarily investors; they're purchasers. But
They were purchasers,
yeah. So we had the hard copies there, but generally now, even though because that we still raise capital for the different stages for that particular development. It's all digital now.
Yeah.
We don't need those ones anymore. But anyway, so that's the whole information memorandum rundown.
Yeah.
They're not difficult. Once you've done one, like Bob said, they're so easy.
Yeah, you'll have a template after you've done the first one. So template it. And really it's much quicker the second one, third one.
And we often have version 1, then it goes to version 2, version 3, we can change the versions and I swap it out so I'll have a folder on my desktop that will have an information memorandum. It'll have a application process and it'll have a how to fill out the application process. And for the style that I do by law, because of what I'm doing, I will send the whole 3 at once. I have to.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to just send the information memorandum. But we don't always have the bank account open initially, which has just happened recently. So that means I change out the information memorandum when I get those details in there. They're for the big full-blown ones.
Yeah, the full-blown ones.
Bigger things. Yeah.
For asset regulated ones.
Really, yeah. When we're doing bigger things. But so we can swap the versions out. But even somebody building a smaller one, which might start at a concept to speak to investors about, then when they get their foot on something and turn it into a real one, that's when they could swap it out as well. So you could. Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to make
that
one.
happened recently with a 12-page one where an estimate was done on construction. That was part of the numbers in the feasibility. But in the meantime, and that one needed to get out, to start to talk to people. But then quantity surveyors were engaged to actually test the construction price. And then so they sent back a small report on the construction. So that went in as an addendum or an annexure on the next version because it wasn't available when it was initially released. So that, that's sort of an updated one.
Annexure. You hijacked my brain on that. You said annexure and I was like, what? Okay. Well, I think we're there, Bob. I think we've covered off on information memorandums, the need or why you would need to have one and what goes inside them. So good luck making yourself an information memorandum. Just remember that I am looking for investors always. So if you have some money and you'd love to invest with us, feel free to reach out. Also, our education programs, propertymastermind.com.au. Check out what we've got going on. And then this week's email and the next 2 weeks, there are some links at the bottom, but I wrote them. They're quite cheeky. But firstly, we do have a beginners program for people who are just interested in learning a bit more about property development. It's $1 for the first month and then $149 a month after that. That is a membership program. So membership, like a gym membership, you know how that works, very similar. Then we have our full-blown online course that comes with our workshop, which is in October. And our 3-day workshop is out the gate amazing. It is so good. People just talk about it forever and they keep coming back because it is just a fabulous networking opportunity and just a great
Huge
event.
learning event.
Oh, huge. And so that's, I think it's 11, 12, 13, 10, 11, 12, October, whatever, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The dates will be
It's
below
11,
this
12,
podcast.
13,
It's
I know
11.
that, of October.
I always think 11, 12, 13 or 10. Okay,
On the
Friday,
Gold Coast.
11, 12, 13 on the Gold Coast. So, and that comes as part of our bundle. So if you're interested in the bundle where you get the online course for life, you also get that membership and you get a ticket for 2 to that workshop. That's all part of that, which is just amazing and has set so many people on their way when it comes to property development. So yeah, we've got that coming up and
Okay.
available. And of course,
Looking
we have
forward to that.
mentoring for people that are committed and ready to go. That's the next level. But
Yep.
I think that's enough there, Bob.
Okay.
Let's go pack our bags.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're off.
Vietnam, here we come.
No, good morning. Yeah, I'll do
Good
that tomorrow.
morning, Viet.
We arrive tomorrow morning. I'm going to actually say that.
Yeah,
Good
we will.
morning, Vietnam. Yeah, I'll have to listen to it and get it right.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Catch you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.